This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
It's one thing to walk into a courtroom knowing the stakes are high. It's another to watch the final pre-trial hearing in a case that has simmered for years. Every motion, every ruling, another small move in a long, deadly chess match. This morning, it packed Leon County courtroom. Donna Adelson sat at the defense table, stone still, head slightly tilted toward her attorneys, as Judge Stephen Everett methodically worked through what could and could not be part of the trial that will decide whether she spends the rest of her life in prison. Jury selection begins August 19th. After that, the curtain rises. From the outside, it could have looked like just another day of legal housekeeping. Attorneys arguing over evidence, splitting hairs over who can say what and when, but in reality, these weren't minor skirmishes. They were battles over the narrative itself, what the jury will be allowed to hear and what they'll never know existed. In a case like this, those boundaries can change everything, because this case has everything in it. The state came in ready to defend its theory that the bitter, drawn-out divorce between Donna's daughter, Wendi Adelson, and Florida state law professor Dan Markel was the root of the murder plot, that custody disputes over the couple's children kept the bad blood boiling for years, and that Donna, fueled by resentment and loyalty to her daughter, became a driving force behind arranging Dan's killing. Prosecutors wanted the jury to see the entire divorce file, a thick stack of pleadings, motions, and accusations arguing that the sheer volume of hostility in those documents speaks to motive. Not for truth, they said, but for impact, to show how personal, how relentless it all was. The defense pushed back hard. They didn't deny some of those documents mattered. Emails Donna sent her daughter during the litigation, strategic advice she gave on how to respond. But they argued most of the file was irrelevant, hearsay, and toxic to the fairness of the trial. The judge, he split it down the middle. Only pleadings directly tied to Donna will come in as evidence. The rest, the state can show the bulk as a demonstrative to give jurors a sense of scale, but it won't be read into the record unless it's tied to her directly. It was a small but significant win for the defense. They kept a mountain of hostile paper from landing wholesale in front of the jury. But the prosecution still gets to wave that mountain around. And if something gets brought up about a piece of that mountain, where that mountain is required to explain, well, that mountain can be dug into. We've seen it in many other cases where, oops, someone said too much in court, and now that stuff that the judge originally said you don't get to see, well, guess what? You get to see it. So they're going to have to play their cards pretty tight. Not a lot of room for error in a situation like this. The arguments move quickly through other witnesses. Stephen Webster, Dan Markel's divorce attorney, there, we said it, will be allowed to testify about the facts, what he did, what he saw in the proceedings, but not offer personal opinions unless there's a solid foundation. Anything Dad told him in confidence is hearsay unless the state finds a narrow exception. That means the most inflammatory statements won't just tumble out without a legal fight mid-trial. Then came the gang evidence, the kind of thing that can make jurors sit up straighter in their seats. Gang evidence, you say? With this grandma right here? How could she be possibly tied to a gang? Well, let me explain that. Luis Rivera, one of the confessed hitmen in this case, was a gang member. No dispute there, but whether the jury will hear he was a leader in the Latin Kings is trickier. The judge ruled that Rivera's gang ties can be used to explain why he was recruited for the murder, but the specific label Latin Kings and his leadership role will stay out unless the defense can prove it directly connects to Donna's state of mind, her fear, her choices. The undercover agent who approached Donna years later can be questioned about the role he played in posing as a gang member, but again, the label stays holstered unless the foundation is there. That's a tightrope for both sides. Like I said, words do matter. The wrong word comes out, you're opening a dam of a whole lot of information that may be beneficial or not so beneficial to Donna Adelson, depending on who says what. The prosecution doesn't want the gang detail to distract or backfire. The defense wants it because they believe it shows Donna was operating under fear. From there, the judge sets a clear rule. No witness gets to interpret the meaning behind emails, phone calls, or text messages unless they're decoding actual code words and have proper foundation. If it's not coded, the jury gets the words as they are, without a tour guide telling them what to think. That's another guardrail that could keep the case from veering into speculation territory. The defense also tried again to block the state from using Donna's 2022 travel plans as proof of consciousness of guilt, the idea that she was leaving the country to avoid arrest. The judge denied it, just like before. The jury will hear she was at the airport with a one-way ticket to Vietnam when she was taken into custody. The defense can argue all they want about her reasons, but it's coming in. They will hear. They will likely see the video of Donna and Harvey. Oh, they remind me of cartoon characters. He's just kind of off on the side. I don't know it if I did it. You can almost get what they're saying just through their grunts. There is one area where the state simply conceded personal opinions about attorneys' ethics or behavior from investigators. Jason Null and Patrick Sanford won't be part of the case. Both sides agreed that the judge made it official. Then the courtroom shifted into logistics, jury selection, trial length, how to keep things moving without sacrificing fairness. 300 prospective jurors are summoned. 50 in the morning, 50 in the afternoon, all pre-selected for exposure to the case. They'll be told not to talk to each other, handed reading material, kept under close watch to prevent the whisper networks that can poison a jury pool. The judge wants 12 jurors and 3 alternates. If they're seated early, testimony could start before the official August 25th launch date. The state estimates 5 to 7 days for its case. The defense says they'll need 4 to 6. With Labor Day off, it puts us into mid-September before a verdict is possible. The tension in the room wasn't just about rulings. It was the way defense pressed for table reconfigurations so their screens wouldn't be visible to the public or the media. It was in the concern about microphones picking up private whispers between attorney and client. It was in the judge's reminders about which rows will be reserved for family, which rules will bind the press, which faces can't be shown on camera. This trial has been watched, dissected, and fought over for nearly a decade now. There's no room for slip-ups. It's been delayed multiple times. If you remember, this trial was supposed to take place last fall. And now we're just going to start seeing it begin at the beginning of this fall. The rulings today tell us a lot about what's coming. The jury will hear about the divorce battle, but not be drowned in every scrap of paper. They'll hear about gangs, but only in a controlled way that ties directly to Donna's perspective. They'll hear Donna's own words, but no one else's translations unless it's proven coded. And then they'll hear she was caught in the airport with a ticket out of the country. In a trial that's as much about shaping the story as it is about proving facts, these lines matter. The prosecution needs a clean, tight narrative. Bitter divorce, escalating hostility, and a mother willing to cross the line from loyalty to conspiracy. The defense needs to poke holes, to keep out anything too inflammatory, and to paint Donna as someone who may have said things in anger out of fear, but didn't plan a murder. Every ruling today adjusted those scales, if only by degrees. As the clock ticks towards August 19th, you can feel the weight of about what's to happen. Jury selection isn't just a formality. It's the process of finding 12 strangers who can sit through weeks of emotional, high-stakes testimony and decide whether Donna Adelson is guilty of orchestrating the killing of her son-in-law. Every juror will bring their own history, their own reactions to family drama, custody battles, and crime. In a case like this, with its tangled web of relationships, money, and vengeance, those reactions could matter more than anyone admits. What happens in that courtroom today wasn't flashy. There were no bombshell revelations, no sudden confessions. But if you were listening closely, you could hear the guardrails being built for the story each side wants to tell. Those rails will keep the trial from spinning out in some directions while opening the path in others. And once the first witness takes the stand, those paths can lead to very different places. By the time the jury hears opening statements, they won't know how much of the case they're not hearing. They'll have no idea which documents were fought over, which phrases were scrubbed from testimony, which labels were held back to avoid tipping the scale. That's the nature of the system. What's kept out is just as strategic as what comes in. For Donna Adelson, the next few weeks are all that stand between her and a possible life sentence. For Dan Markel's family, there's another chance, maybe the last, to see accountability in a murder that tore their lives apart. For the lawyers on both sides, they're the culmination of years of filings, negotiations, and arguments, all boiling down to this moment. And for everyone watching, the trial will be more about just testimony and exhibits. It'll be a study in how truth is presented, shaped, and sometimes constrained. Not to hide it, but to keep it within the rules. The facts themselves won't change, but the way they're delivered, the way they're framed, could decide everything. That's what today was about. Not drama for its own sake, but the careful drawing of a map the jury will follow. When they start that journey later this month, they won't have the whole landscape. They'll have the version each side fought to give them. In a case like this, where motive, fear, and loyalty are tangled into the same rope, which parts of that rope the jury is allowed to see may be the difference between a verdict of guilty and a story that ends with Donna Adelson walking out of court a free woman. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section on YouTube. If you're not there already, just search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi and you will find us there. You can also do the same search wherever you download podcasts and take us with you as you go. We're going to be covering this case from the start. If you want to follow a channel specifically about this in the podcast world, on audio only, on podcasts, just search The Trial of Donna Adelson, and you will find us there. Or Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi, and you can follow us there as well. We have a channel specifically for it, audio-wise, where we'll be bringing you the courtroom audio every single day as this trial pans out, along with daily recaps of what went down in the courtroom. So press subscribe so you don't miss any of that right here. It's all coming up very soon from the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today. My name is Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.